what point does pet stewardship exceed minimalist principles?
Well, let's talk about what do you mean by minimalist principles. So when Ryan and I talk about lifestyle minimalism, which is different from minimalism in literature or architecture or art, although they have a lot of commonalities, what we're really talking about is getting rid of anything that is excess, right? So if you have excess in your life, then I probably wouldn't start adding more into your life, meaning, okay, well, I bought all this stuff. The average American household has 300,000 items in it. I bought all of it. It didn't make me happy. So you know what I need? Some pets.
Right.
Well, now you're going to not only be discontented with all the stuff you have in your life, but you're going to be you're going to make your pets discontented because you don't have any of the resources to actually take care of them. And so pets can be a tremendous blessing, a joy. But if we are accumulating them the same way we're accumulating stuff, then they too are going to be a burden, right?
Gosh, yeah. I mean, and it's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, according to a lot of data out there, that, first of all, that connection is really important. You bring in a dog, like you had just mentioned, because you are collecting a whole bunch of things. These 300,000 items don't satisfy you, and maybe bringing a dog in there, you might not think that's detrimental to the dog, but there's a lot of data to show that, if your connection between you and your dog is severed, or if there's that stress factor that goes on between you and your dog where, there's nothing at home seems to satisfy you, you're hung out, you're strung out, you're a stressful individual. There's an Italian study that shows that you can actually grow a tumor on your dog with that type of mentality.
Wow. So
collecting animals to try to bring yourself happiness is, gosh, it'd be hugely detrimental, not only to yourself, but also to your dog.
Well, and regret. Regret is a powerful thing in the animal space. And most animal lovers end up with some level of regret, oftentimes, because we look back and say, if I would have known then what I know now, I would have navigated my dog's well-being differently. I would have made different choices. I wish I had more money to feed better food. I wish I wasn't working an 8-hour job that I hate because I'm having my dog in a crate is driving me crazy. Regret causes people to have unbelievable open wounds with their animals for forever, potentially. And one of the reasons that we did write this book is to help people identify what they can be doing preemptively so that they don't have to deal with regret. Regret is overwhelming enough that it can scar and damage you to the point that some people say, I love animals, and they're amazing animal stewards and guardians. They're great people, and any shelter animal they'd win the lotto going into these people's beautiful lives because they will solely focus on them. But the human has been so damaged from not having the knowledge, the tools, the resources from a previous pet that they didn't feel they served appropriately, and they can't bear to do it again. They can't get over the guilt of a previous animal. And that's powerful. And part of the reason that we wrote this book is so many people have said to us, I just want a blueprint. I don't know how to proactively or intentionally create well-being. I don't know what foods I should be feeding. I don't know. I know that I want to create a good life for my dog, but I don't necessarily know how to think about my dog's life from his perspective. How do I do that? And so much of this book is a blueprint for people that are confused to provide clarity, for people that want to do what's best, but they don't necessarily know, for people that are burned from the marketing hype or don't really know where to turn to get the information they need. Knowledge becomes a very empowering tool to be able to make decisions that allow you to relax in to enjoying life moment to moment with the animal that you've signed up with.
I want to ask you guys a question as professionals when it comes to minimalism. I was on your social media page the other day, and I did see a comment in there from a pet parent that said, and Ryan, you'll probably be the best to go with this, having a pet does not make you a minimalist. Meaning, if you want to be a minimalist, you should not have a pet. You're not practicing minimalism if you have a pet. Yeah. So as a cat owner, how would you come back at, let's say, that comment?
Oh, well, I tend to not argue with people online.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you're like, as professionals, but man, we're the minimalists because the domain was available for $7 on GoDaddy, and when I saw minimalism, it was about living intentionally, which I was not doing at the time. It was about using my resources and really understanding the true cost of the things that I was bringing into my life. And I think that's where, and you alluded to it earlier, Karen, about people don't really consider the cost. That there's a financial cost, but then there are all these other costs associated with it: time, attention. Like there are other things that we have to be very deliberate with and make sure we have to kind of take care of these pets. So, what I would say to that specifically is, we would have to talk about what the definition of minimalism is, because I think when people hear that word, you ask 10 different people what minimalism is, you're probably going to get 10 different answers.
Yep.
But it's really just about living intentional. So can you live intentional with a cat? Sure, you sure can. Can you live unintentional with a cat? Yeah, you sure can. You could also live intentional with thousands of dogs if you have the room for them, like I was talking about earlier, which a piece of me really aspires to.
I don't know about thousands of dogs.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
no one owns thousands of dogs.
No, I'm talking about the rescue shelter. The rescue shelter in Mexico, where she had 500 acres. And
as a rescue shelter. And
right.
I think the point you're making here is, so if we talk about what is minimalism is the thing that gets us past the things so we can make room for life's most important things, which aren't things at all. And so when we talk about living intentionally, it's right there in the title of your book, The Forever Dog. If you're going to be intentional about bringing a dog or a cat or a goldfish into your life, it's forever, meaning the rest of their life is the way we need to think about it. Not what resources is this going to take from me today, what kind of joy is this going to bring me immediately, but what is the complete picture? I'm going to have this dog for the next 5, 10, 15, 30 years. Yeah. And so I need to plan accordingly, because if I don't, then I'm not making an intentional decision. And that is not being a minimalist about it. But if minimalism is too stark of a word, then you can just say intentionalism.
Yeah.
And so what would an intentionalist do? They would think about the resources they're going to have to expend on bringing this pet in over the course of its entire life. Because if you're prepared for that and you still say yes to it, you say, hell yes, I still want this pet, well, then you're making an intentional decision.
Yeah.
And you have to go into this loving unconditionally. And I believe that that's one of the biggest challenges that animals provide to us, because you maybe didn't know that you were going to sign up to love a semi-feral kitty. And that's beautiful. But you also have just accepted Mac as being life on Mac's terms. Like, if he wants to be touched today, cool. And if not, you're cool with that. But what if all you wanted was a snuggle kitty? You did not inherit a snuggle kitty.
Oh, no.
But if you had your mindset on, listen, I want a kitty to hold and kiss and...
Yeah. I want to cuddle with 1,000 puppies.
Yeah. But you are doing your job, loving your semi-feral cat anyway. And that is what we are called. If we bring an animal in and we say, I'm going to sign up for this animal forever, you are going to love the warts and bumps and habits and the personality that develops in that animal.
Yeah.
You may say, oh, it's exactly what I wanted. And you may say, ooh.
Not what I expected.
Wow. This is a high maintenance dog or cat.
I love you anyway.
And that's right. But I will love you anyway. And that also helps us grow as humans.
Yeah.
That's huge. You know, it's interesting. We had like a game night when my wife and I first moved in together. We had a game night, had a bunch of friends over, and I was talking about the cat and how the cat was not a cuddly cat and how it didn't really like me. And one of my friends, she was like, you know, maybe Mac was brought into your life to help you with certain lessons. And what lessons can you learn from this kitty? And that really, I mean, that resonated with me, because I was like, oh yeah, like I am Mr. Like, let me come up to you and be rough with you and pet you. And it's like, but not everybody wants that. And so, yeah, like that's exactly what I've done is I've kind of used him instead of like trying to force him into being a cat that I wish he was. It's more about me kind of adapting to the type of cat he is. And I really have learned a lot from that cat, believe it or not.
Did you enjoy this standalone Patreon highlight? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalist Private Podcast, available exclusively on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free.